I've stopped here because this is the end of the first story about which this passage was revealed. Now, what we've got to remember is the Quran was revealed when there was a need for it, when there was an occasion for revelation. Okay, that's what we call occasion for revelation. There was something happened, an occurrence, and then it needed divine intervention, divine guidance. So what happened was the Banu Tamim, a Bedouin tribe, came to Medina. The members of Banu Tamim, these Bedouins, nomads, they came to Medina to declare their faith, all right? And they did it in quite an inappropriate manner. They were rude, and they came to the Prophet ﷺ's chambers and began Hujarat. That's where the Hujarat is room, private room, chamber, a small flat really. That's what we use the word apartment. And they began to shout, "Come out, O Muhammad!" They were not used to. These are Bedouins, nomads. "Come out, O Muhammad!" And of course, the divine Allah, the Lord, disapproved of this kind of. So this was revealed. But I want you to just bear that in mind. Okay, here are these people coming and saying this. What would be the reaction of me and you and others? Of course, the city dwellers of Medina, of course, didn't like it either. Okay, but look at how Allah Subhanahu wa Taala presents this, and I'd like, from this, I hope you'll understand something about the nature of the Quran as well. What is this book about? Okay, and so let's read what it says before going any further. Let's read in the name of Allah, the kind, the caring. Manners of meeting and greeting the messenger. I've given it that title. Okay, and this is something, inshallah, I hope some of you would be reflecting on. I hope when you read this, why this particular title, okay, and how appropriate is that, okay? Is there a particular argument going on, and this is its conclusion, or what? But I'll leave that as another deeper thing. But let's just read what is mentioned there. Mashood, can you please read? Believers.
Believers, do not put yourselves ahead of Allah and His Messenger. Be fearful of Allah. Indeed, Allah is the hearer, the knower. Believers, don't raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, nor talk loudly with him as you might talk loudly amongst yourselves. Your deeds might be ruined without you even knowing. Those who lower their voices in the presence of the Messenger of Allah are the ones whose hearts Allah has selected for piety. Forgiveness and a great reward awaits them. Most of them who summoned you from outside your private rooms don't understand. It would have been far greater for them had they waited patiently till you came out. Allah is forgiving, caring.
Well, you know the background to this now. I hope you can see how divine the Lord deals with that. Right? What would you say about that? What's your sort of reading of that? Anisa, how would you, the divine response to it, how would you describe that?
I think Allah deals in a quite graceful and respectful manner. Could have come down harshly on them, and used harsher vocabulary, but it's more of a advice that's being given, which is a sort of in keeping with the word Rahman you were saying before.
Yeah.
Rahman.
And the last two words describe that, that Allah is what? Wallahu Ghafoor Rahim. Allah is forgiving and caring. Meaning that mistake of yours, that rudeness of yours is forgiven. But not only that, but He's going to take care of you and He's going to guide you. Okay, that's the part of that. But there's a few other things in that. Let's just sort of examine those. First of all, it begins by Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, believers. Okay, believers. So it's talking obviously to the Muslims, and you will see that I think that's mentioned 6 times in this surah. Okay, and this is a Madani surah, and you don't in Meccan surahs. It's very rare. I think it's mostly Ya Ayyuhan Nas in Meccan surahs. I can't remember whether it is the rule, but certainly in Madani surahs, you find Allah talking to the believers directly. Okay? Whereas in Makkah, He was always talking to the whole of the Meccans, and majority were Muslims, were only a few there. So it was Ya Ayyuhan Nas, people. Right? Here, believers. That in itself is selecting the people that are to be addressed. All right? And so what is what's the first rule that's being taught here? Okay. The first rule is that we must not go ahead of Allah and His Messenger. So what was the ahead? They were putting themselves before Allah and His Rasul. Okay? They were saying, come out, rather than waiting, or more respectfully, getting someone to knock on and wait. They were demanding. So here, the first rule is you don't demand from the Prophet ﷺ in this way, and you don't put yourself ahead of him either. And I think there is something else here, isn't it? That he's the one who is your leader. You follow him, okay? You don't make him follow you, all right? So you don't make demands of him in that way. He's your leader. You follow him. And of course, it's very clearly, I think the idea is of Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul. Obey Allah and His Messenger. Okay. That's the very simple message from this first part. Obey Allah and His messengers. And then believers don't raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet. Alright? It's mentioned that already, people like Abu Bakr were talking whenever they spoke to the Prophet, they were talking a very mild, very gentle, and a very soft voice. So soft sometimes the Prophet ﷺ had to lean forward to hear what Abu Bakr was saying. He would talk so softly, out of pure respect, really. And after this, some of the other disciples began to do the same as well, so much so that the Prophet ﷺ had to ask them to raise their voices. Okay, so again, this is obedience, really, and of course there was a very particular aura about the Prophet ﷺ. They were in a complete awe of him, as well as, of course, in complete love and respect for him. We live in a society where love and respect are completely misunderstood. It's a mad society which only believes in sexuality, sadly. Completely berserk. It's never been like this then, but it is in the last 20, 30 years, it's gone completely maddened, and it's getting madder with regard to sexuality and human relationships. Okay? It can't believe that two men can be friends with one another. It can't believe that two women can be friends with one another. And yet that is how we've always been. Friendships don't have to go anywhere other than that, to be honest. But it's a mad society, which I hope you can see the madness of it. And let us be honest about it. It's actually an absolutely absurd society. And this is so important, this question. It's an existential question. Whether we survive or not, whether we, as human beings, we survive or not. That is how serious this question is. So that is why we have to be critical, and it's good to see some really good Christians who are opposing this madness as well, alhamdulillah. But there's only few of them, but majority of even the church, even the bishops, have quietly followed this madness. But inshallah, we must not be scared of saying the truth for the good of humanity. That's the point. We want to save our human beings. We don't want to be destroyed. And of course, go against nature. Allah is great. So, this idea that they loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this love of the Prophet they had is described, by Urwa ibn Mas'ud Saqfi. He's not a believer, and this is when the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was being signed. Urwa came as the ambassador of the Meccans, and he went back and told them, you know, you're fighting with the wrong man. I've been to the emperors of Rome, I've been to the Khusro of the Persians, and I've been to the king of Abyssinia, Negus. But never have I seen this devotion and love for their master as I saw to Muhammad by his companions. You know? He doesn't finish his command and they are ready to accept and to carry it out. Okay? When he does ablution, they don't let a drop of water fall on the ground. You know? That is their love for him. All right? And you can't find someone like that. There's somebody who's beloved to his followers as much as Muhammad is, you can't. Yeah? And so this was the love that they had. You know, this manly love or between sisters or between human beings is a very natural, normal thing, to be honest. And to give it all sorts of names and legitimize evil through it is actually a great disservice to humanity and against human nature, really. We don't need to have that, okay? Where would you have man marrying a man, a woman marrying a woman, But anyway, you know, may Allah guide the evil society that we live in and the wrongs that, you know, we see in our society. But we should not be really scared of speaking the truth, really. And so love is really crucial, because what that is doing then, that's scaring people off, you know, from natural love that we should have between as men and as women, you know, really. So here we see people who truly loved one another and loved the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then it's interesting, the Quran then goes on to say that those who lower their voices in the presence of the Messenger of Allah are the ones whose hearts Allah has already tested. Imtahanallahu qulubahum. Imtahanallahu qulubahum. Allah has already tested these people, you know, and they've shown it. You know, they showed it when in the Battle of Badr. They showed it at the Battle of Uhud, and in the time of the Confederates when they attacked. They showed their love and their sincerity and faithfulness to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They've already been tested and they've shown that they are people of faith. They are strong, loyal followers as well. It's about loyalty. You know, that's being mentioned of the people like Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala. But imtahana Allahu qulubahum. In other words, they have proved that they are fit and deserving to be selected. You know, in other words, Allah says, you know, it's very interesting. In the Quran, Allah takes responsibility Himself. This is really interesting. You know why? Because after all, He is the creator of everything. All right? He says, we put taqwa in their hearts. But what did they do? We tested them, and they were really good. We rewarded them with taqwa. So that's what it means when Allah says, we put taqwa in their hearts. They showed they were deserving of it. So, because, you know, many people think that this is disempowering. No, it's not disempowering. It's the other way around. Allah's Abu Bakr, Umar, Osman, Ali have already shown, we committed to you, Ya Rasulullah. Then Allah shows them. Then Allah further empowered them. You see that? So always remember this, you know, when the Quran talks in this way, it's not that, you know, we just handed out this taqwa, this power to see through the fog and the darkness of life. No. This was a result of their hard work. They did it, we further supported them. Yes, we supported them. We helped them. But they are the ones who did it. So, you know, this is really an important lesson that we must learn. So, I've called this manners of meeting and greeting the messenger. How appropriate is that? For that passage? Is there enough evidence for that in this passage to merit that title? Alia, did you think that's a reasonable? Or is there something else? What else could have been? What could have been an alternative title to this? Come on. Alternative.
etiquettes of meeting greeting, because it deals with recognizing what they did wrong, and then it kind of, there's a warning of what's the risk of them doing that. They could lose all their good deeds, and then it mentions the reward for the people who do have good etiquettes and manners, and then it mentions what they should have done. What would have been the best approach to...
So what would be
Maybe
the title there?
etiquettes, similar to manners, but etiquettes, so the what they should have done in the...
Etiquette is a French word, and we're talking in English, Lisa. And that's the point about plain English, actually. Plain English is really words that actually come from English rather than from French or Latin or, English is, and that's what actually makes English difficult. It's when you start using those other words. And exactly the same in Urdu, when this Urdu bole na, and Arabi the lafz ismal karne, ya Persian, Arabi has a lot of that, then it becomes difficult. Jisala Hindi bole na, or Punjabi hai sadi, and it becomes so easy for us to understand. Urdu, that is, it comes from Hindi really, okay? And then we've added Arabic to it and Persian to it and a bit of Turkish as well. But the Hindi is what is the actual base of it, and that's what makes it plain Urdu. And same in English. So that's why I'm trying to avoid all foreign words, try to use simple English, plain English. Yeah. But what else? How else? What title would you have given it, Alia? What could be an alternative to this plain one? Come on, what could be an alternative to this? You just walk off. All right. Okay.
Could it be just general manners as well? Because it's Rasulullah, may peace be upon him, was an example to us also.
Yes.
Any manners that we learn to
Yes.
be translated to our relationships with other people as well.
Okay. Taking it generally, yeah? And that's how we take this surah as well. This surah is also called, one of the names is Al Hujarat. Al Hujarat. Everybody say that. Al Hujarat. Al Hujarat. Hujarat. Sorry, Hujarat. Yeah, it's Ra. Hujarat. Yeah, Hujarat. And which means apartments or flats or rooms. And it has another name there, no? It's actually called Surat al Akhlaq as well. Surat al Akhlaq, because it talks about morals. Okay? And we'll talk about the difference between manners and morals in a minute, yeah, no? But Shahbaz, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, you could title it as advice to believers.
Advice to you? Advice to the believers.
And I just wanted to ask, whether there's any other passage. This is how you should address your parents as well, as children. So is there another, so in the Quran, any other similar ayahs that tell you how to address the parents?
Yeah. There's, well, Surah Al-Isra, where Allah says, وَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ وَقَضَىٰ رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا and وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and do favors to your parents, or my translation of that actually is, and care for your parents. And وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and we ordered people to be caring towards their parents. Yeah, that's actually, I think, 4 or 5 times there it's mentioned. But I just wanted to see here that, the writing or any text can either be an argument, right? An argument, in other words, there's a point of view and there's a position, and then you present reasons, okay, and then you come to a conclusion. That's an argument, right? That's one way. The other is, it could be very simply a description, and we'll read that. Some passages which are actually purely descriptions of paradise or hell, all right? Those are just descriptions. Or it could be an explanation. This here is more of an explanation, actually, of the behavior of those Bedouins, really. And then Yes, it's a, but I just want you to sort of imagine how, the way the Quran is presenting. It's not mentioning, oh, Banu Tamim, why did you do this? This is rotten, this is wrong, you shouldn't do this, and there were so many of you, and you did it this way. It doesn't tell you that kind of, okay? Instead, it's doing the commentary and deriving lessons from it. And this is the nature of whole Quran, yeah, and I want you to understand that. I gave you the background. This is what happened, but look how the Quran is talking about that incident in a very positive way, deriving lessons from it, right? And this is and you just ask those people who accuse Quran of being just juxtaposition of nonsense, na'uzubillah, okay? How powerful it is, how advanced it is, it's a very powerful commentary on that incident that took place.
I was picking up on the point mentioned. Obviously, this is addressing the Prophet ﷺ, how they dealt with him. Obviously, the message is wider. So maybe in terms of looking at the titles, it could be looking at the importance of social interaction, or the importance of speaking beautifully or gracefully with each other. So just to widen, broaden it, rather than just to restrict it. Because the message is like you were hinting at, it goes beyond the Prophet, it goes to other people in authority, other people in your society. So maybe something about the importance of social interaction on your heart or on your faith, because that's the connection, isn't it, about your actions being wasted. So it's maybe bringing that out a bit more, where looking at the importance of speaking gracefully to each other and its impact on your heart.
Well, this surah is, as I say, it's called Surat al Akhlaq as well, of morals, all right? We'll come back to that in a minute, and after we've read the next part. The next part is again a commentary on another incident that took place very close to this incident, and that begins from verse 6. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in. Okay, so who's going to read that? Would you like to, Dr. Habib, you read that for us. Go on. Read Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum. Verse 6, when you hear. No, just read the translation.
Oh, the English. When you hear news, check the facts. Believers, if some crooked person brings you news, then check it in case you cause harm to others ignorantly and then later regret what you did. Remember, the Messenger of Allah is among you. If he frequently allowed your wishes, then you would suffer badly. However,
if he frequently
followed your wishes, then you would suffer badly. However, Allah has made faith beloved and highly attractive for your hearts, and made disbelief, sin and disobedience dislikable to you. These are the rightly guided, given grace as a gift from Allah, the knower wise.
So what do you think happened here? So believers, if some crooked person comes to you with fake news, that's what it is actually, fake news, right? So what happened was, one of the zakat collector came to Rasulullah saying that, Banu Mustalik, another tribe to which he was appointed to collect zakat from, is refusing to pay zakat. Okay? And that wasn't the case. Okay? He read the whole affair which took place there, he misread it. And he came back and reported that news as it was. Alright? So this is in reaction, a response to that. Okay? And again, this is interesting. It's even today, I hope you can see how important it is not to take things at face value, and the how misleading news can be, and I think we are beginning to see more and more of that. But the Quran long ago said, what should you do? When somebody brings you a news, check it. The Quranic words are fatabayyan. Okay? Just make sure that it's the truth. Search for the truth. check it, investigate it actually. Check it, investigate it, and have evidence that this is truth or falsehood. Right? We know that people consume a lot of falsehood nowadays, a lot of wrong information. We just take it for granted. What comes from BBC is truth, and we know that BBC, of course, is world class, in fact, first class. There's nothing that is as good as it. But even there, we know that. What they did with Sir Cliff Richard, and they can blow things out of proportion and fake things in some ways. Yes, that's what it was. That's why they were fined. What was it, 1 million or 3 million? They were fined recently. So, that just shows you, and Pakistani media, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news हर चैनल दे ऊपर है, it's breaking news, even if it's कि कल इमरान खान दौरा उसका वज़ारत ख़ारजा का दौरा करेगा, आज वज़ारत दौरा, no, फिर थोड़ी देर से बाद कल वज़ारत दौरा, it's given it 100 times and then it says no, he's going to do it tomorrow, and you say, what's the breaking news in that? So I hope you can see how false news can spread. It does spread, but what the Quran is telling us here is just check the facts, Jan. Check the facts. But there's something else mentioned here. It's it says the messenger is among you. All right. What does that mean? It's saying to the Sahaba, he's your leader, and whatever he says, follow that. And then something very interesting about the Sahaba, and those people around him. Allah says that were he to follow your wishes and whims, things would be very bad. And this is really a lesson for any good leader, not to just obey and follow his followers, for everything. If you did, I know certainly, I would have never been able to do anything if I was to listen to Ali Saab and Chaudhry Saab and Raja Saab all the time. You would never be able to do anything, seriously, because, it's one usually negative, okay, and it's always very, very cautious, rather than being adventurous and thinking out of the box. It's never that anyway. And further, what's the need for this? That's usually the, what's the need for this new thing there? But here, Rasulullah Allah says, he doesn't need to follow you. If he did, it would be disastrous. Everything would be disastrous. So I think that's a sign of a good leader. That doesn't mean it's about arrogance and it's not about listening. And this is the problem that I think modern society is going down. What are they doing? They are just listening to the people. Seriously. Anything they do now, before the Prime Minister even thinks of it, they do polls. This is exactly what this is. They're just following their followers. And these followers have very little understanding of things, let's be honest. And can mislead. And they do. And this is the, they think this is a good democracy. Anyway, Brexit is a very good example of listening to, and this was Cameron's mistake, but he was quick to realise it, and he immediately resigned. He said, "This is going to be a real, Pandora's box I've opened, and I'm going to run away from it. I'll let someone else deal with it now." But it just shows you, just to follow without expert advice and experts telling you, it's not a clever idea, really. I think that's another lesson that comes from here, that you don't just listen to everybody. Yeah.
The first point about not believing or doing investigation, how, under what circumstances should you be doing that? The Prophet ﷺ there's this person, he says, oh, so-and-so hasn't paid zakat or they don't want to pay. But if, say, Hazrat Abu Bakr or Hazrat Ali had come and said the same thing,
okay. Okay. Well, you know the Quran actually says here. What it says is, "In ja'akum fasikun." If a crook comes to you, fasik I've translated as a crooked person. I don't know any comments on that. Fasik is Arabic word which means somebody who commits major sin. Okay, who does big mischievous thing. All right. So it's gross misconduct as well, common with that. I've translated that as a crooked person. Any comments on that? You like that, eh? Okay, I thought he was a bit too...
How do you know?
You already know him to be of bad character.
Yeah, how, you know, he came to the Prophet, and did the Prophet know, and people knew that he was a crooked person? If he was a crooked person, why was he attacked for that?
In charge.
Okay. Well, we know that the person who was sent was not a crooked person. He wasn't a crooked person, but I think he made a mistake in judging things. All right. But here the Quran is giving us a general picture that when a person of that character comes to you, somebody who is not trustworthy, somebody who is not trustworthy. So that's the point. So what that means is, you know, there are trustworthy people, and you listen to them, but that still doesn't mean, you know, you just take everything from them. You still do investigation on that, okay? And you should have they should be able to provide you evidence, right? There should be evidence with it, and I think that's how obviously they train their journalists, you know. And this is where BBC, of course, is right at the top, you know, in terms of training and evidence-based. Everything has to be, every word you say has to be evidence-based. I do Thought for Today on BBC Radio Nottingham for the last 20 years nearly now, and when I go to record my thought, you know, it's checked meticulously. Every word is checked, and every statistics I use are checked before, and yet it's my thought. But they still want to say, no, that, you know, anybody who presents on our radio we've got to make sure that it's correct, okay? So sometimes, you know, I have few arguments, but no, they say, no, we have to with my producer, and really meticulous about everything. And if there is something that is doubtful, well, let's change that, you know, to something that is not doubtful, yeah. And that's what, you know, we should be aiming for all the time. But here, you're right. If it's somebody who's trustworthy and he provides you evidence, then of course that is the best you can have anyway. But the point I hope you can see is, you know, modern journalism is catching up, or modern media is catching up when we say that, you know, when somebody brings a news, always check it. Okay? And I hope, you know, we should do that, because you know, we're consuming a lot of wrong and fake news as well. Okay. Again, you know, look at how the Quran has commented and taken a lesson, derived a lesson from that incident. All right. And so, what are we being taught about here? That when you are faced with any events, try to learn from it. Really, that's what the Quran is telling us. Okay, let's move on to next part of this surah, which is standing up for justice. Okay, standing up for justice and creating peace. وَإِنْ طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا فَإِنْ بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي حَتَّى تَفِيءَ إِلَى أَمْرِ اللَّهِ فَإِنْ فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ. One of the sisters read from the back.
Standing up for justice and creating peace. When two groups of believers fight, then you should make peace between them. If one of them is unjust to the other, then fight the unjust until they accept Allah's judgment. If they accept it, then make peace between them fairly and be just. Indeed, Allah loves those who are just. The believers are brothers, so make peace between your two brothers. Be mindful of Allah, so you might be cared for.
Okay, this actually refers to another incident which took place between the Aus and Khazraj, the two Muslims, groups, tribes, okay? And it's telling how when there is conflict, we should intervene and to reconcile. It's a very difficult one, to intervene and mediate. I don't know if any of you has had the opportunity and has chickened out of it. No? You, Asad? We do, don't we? When we're particularly two parties who you have relationships with, and you've been asked to mediate, what do you do? Oh my God, this is difficult.
Most difficult, yeah.
And you say, oh God, no, it's too difficult. And yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, I have covered out a few times sadly because it's so difficult. How can I साहब नाराज करिए तो राजा साहब की खुश करिए, how can I do that? So I say I'll stay out. I mean, this is how tough this is really, but it's very important. This is really, it's a bad thing to count. We should reconcile people, okay? But there's something else I want you to pay attention to here. إنما المؤمنون إخوة. Believers are brothers. If you look at the footnote, what have I said? Yes, this is really interesting. The idea of ikhwa, brotherhood. Okay, and I wanted to just stress the idea that the Quran also includes women. The Quran is for women as well as men. All right, it's not. And in fact, in many places, the Quran is very neutral. Okay, and if I was to translate this for modern, I should really have perhaps, believers are brothers and sisters to each other. Okay? In fact, that is mentioned in another place where Allah says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Okay? Believing men and believing women are friends of each other. Okay? It's already hinting to that idea. So, for it to but I don't think you should read too much into that. The Quran somehow is just promoting brotherhood and it is not promoting sisterhood. Okay. But here, this idea of making peace between them, reconciling and trying to overcome conflict. Of course, conflict resolution is a big science and a very big skill, really. It's not an easy one. It's a very big skill and an important skill, and one I hope we Muslims should pay more attention to, because we Muslim countries are at this very moment are fighting. Pakistan is fighting internal civil war. Let's be honest. I mean, it's another thing that you've got a very powerful army that's been able to control that, but at the root of it has been this civil strife within groups and tribes there, okay? And we've not been very successful in resolving that, of reconciling peace, making peace. So, but it is a field in itself, and we should be doing more of that. We are doing something quite much smaller than that, trust building. It's something that I'm working on in Nottingham Trust Building Forum we have, and the idea is we want to build trust with our non-Muslim friends, citizens, and to show that we can be trusted, okay, and to remove their myths and wrong understandings about Islam and Muslims, which they have lots of. And we've been doing this for nearly 2 years now. Alhamdulillah, we had a researcher who was following us, Dr. Emila Cox, and she has actually written a research paper which is published in a peer-reviewed journal, and she was following us and seeing what impact we were having on these non-Muslims we were visiting in Experian, in police, in city council, in other places, in schools and colleges, and what impact we were having. And she was able to show statistically that the people we saw, how they changed after they went to our session of trust building, and that obviously is it shows you how easy it is sometimes to remove people's misunderstandings and wrong information that they've been given, which becomes dangerous, how you should overcome that. But that's a very simple, the conflict resolution we are talking about here is these tribes have been fighting for decades, say in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. How do you bring those tribes together? That is a real challenge, to be honest. And I think that's where we need to invest. And I just hope our charities do more of that. We really, rather than just digging wells, which is important, yes, we need that. But let's try to end the cause of that drought. Let us try to end the cause of those fallen down and broken homes, okay? Which is the strife, that constant warring that's going on between these tribes. But as I said, it's very difficult, to be honest. It's something I'm really surprised. Our charities spend millions on giving food parcels, but they don't spend even a few thousand on trust building and peace and reconciliation. There's a very big group called Initiatives of Change. I was part of them. I used to go to their annual conference in Switzerland regularly. They're really very good at conflict resolution and peacemaking. Something we can learn, from that. But I hope here, you can see the Quran, how it comments on a third incident in a very positive way and derives lessons from it. Is that okay, everybody? I hope you can see what the Quran is doing. So the first one was about following the leader, all right, and being genuine to the leader and following that, and by implication, of course, being part of the community. And the second one was about being investigative and not being gullible, just taking anything that comes. No, always ask the questions. Where's the evidence? Is it really this or is it something else and you've just misread it? Eh? It's really important to ask those questions. And the third one is again about standing up for justice. This is really important. People say that Islam is promoting fighting. It's not, nowhere does it promote fighting. In fact, it says you're allowed to fight in defense. You're allowed to stand up for justice. And that's the whole point of you allowing the jihad to take place, is you stand for justice. When there is wrong going on, you stand up and fight only in that situation. Otherwise, peace is what the Quran is constantly promoting. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Again, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. This is verse 11. How many Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu have we had now?
4.
1.
This is the third one.
4.
No, this is third one, isn't it?
This is the third
No.
Third one.
No. 4. The first one, Ya ayyuhalladhina, then the second verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu.
Yes, you are right. That's it. You're right. 4. Yeah, this is the fourth Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And I hope in each Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu you get a very clear divine command. Okay? So what is okay, so what is being said here then? Can we have somebody reading that? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, verse 11, believers. Behavior that leads to conflict, yes?
Behaviors that lead to conflict. Believers, let no man make fun of another. You may be better than him. No woman should make fun of other women. They may be better than them. Nor speak ill, nor use offensive nicknames for one another. How bad it is to be called a crook after becoming a believer. Those who don't run away from such behavior those who don't turn away from such behavior are wicked.
Okay. So, I've given this touch, but behaviors that lead to conflict. So, in other words, I'm taking this as describing belligerent people. Belligerent is somebody who's always picking fights. Okay, who wants to pick fight with anybody? You know, Trump is another fantastic. If you want to see what a belligerent person is, just look at this man. He just likes to pick fight with anybody, anywhere, anytime. His own and it doesn't really matter who it is. He just likes to pick a fight. Okay, and of course, belligerence is a sign of arrogance as well. You know, big-headed and careless person. You know, somebody who's not careful. And have you seen, you know, what the Quran is teaching here? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, do this. It's actually teaching being very careful, being very thoughtful, and being very measured, isn't it? You know, all of those measures are really teaching us how to be really people who are very thoughtful, careful, disciplined people. You know? And so this is again, you know, these behaviors. So what are the behaviors there? How many different behaviors are mentioned here that Allah is prohibiting for us? Okay, what are they? First is making fun of others. Yeah? What does that mean? Making fun of others.
So embarrassing others in the social environment.
Okay, so first one is embarrassing them in front of others, making fun of them. How else do people make fun? What are some other ways people make fun? No, that's different. But making fun.
You call the name.
Mockery.
Calling names is another one, yeah?
Mocking others.
Yeah. The show for
Putting them down.
Yes.
physical appearance.
Yeah. And this, what about, you know, we live in a society which is very discrimination conscious now, and there are so many good actually laws coming out against discrimination. Okay, so I hope you can see here, you know, the Quran is far ahead. They're just catching up with them. Did you see what I'm saying? Yes. Hina, you know, Qasim's wife, she's working at 10 Downing Street on a project on discrimination. In fact, she was part of that report that came out a few months, you know, where the Prime Minister read out that report about discrimination. She's been working on that, and it's really interesting to see how, you know, the government is taking statistics everywhere, from every department, to look at the discrimination in the workplace, everywhere, you know, looking at, and the idea is we should not be discriminating because it's unfair, it's unjust, and it really, what does it do to people, discrimination of this kind? You know, say a disabled person, when you look down on them, what are you doing to them?
Not the hurts them.
It hurts them, destroying their self-esteem,
Confidence.
yeah, to destroying their confidence, and all this adds up to weakening them, isn't it, really? They become weak.
Exploiting the vulnerability.
Yeah, you're taking, you know, you're exploiting it, and they become weaker and weaker. You know, they will then completely be, you know, utterly displaced from the society. They will hide then, won't they?
You show the illnesses, anxiety, depression.
That would, of course, then it would lead to.
Very common in the schools, bullying in schools. The children are
Yes.
often very depressed. They end up, in some cases, killing themselves.
That's
what it is.
yeah, we've had some cases, we've seen that.
Can you make fun of people like Nawaz Sharif?
Actually, it's
No, I think, you know those satirical.
it's sin if you don't make fun of him.
I know yes. I mean, you know, satire is something different, I think, yeah? Satire is something different, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, making fun of is on a
Right.
personal level.
Satire is different from this making fun. This is done with the you know, it's done with obnoxious intention, wrong intention, and it's done to hurt. Whereas satire is done for a different purpose. You know, it's trying to bring out and show that, you know, here are people who think they are doing something good, but is it really? I think that's what they say. They ask, is it really this? Okay, and because they're putting this question, about it. Is it? Then it's it's done in a. Again, some of that it also depends on what taste it's done. Okay, so I think satire is okay, and particularly with public figures, it's a different thing. See, public figures, when you come into public realm and as a public leader and public representative, then you've got to be open for criticism of all kind, really, and you really have to be very, very careful and good, really.
I noticed you mentioned Trump several times, but our great leader Zardari, Imran Khan, you never mentioned him. So I was just...
He hasn't done anything yet, which is, it's just other than winning those Pakistani, England and Pakistan matches, we haven't seen anything yet. But so we'll wait for that. So this is really. I hope again you can see how the world is catching up to what the Quran has already said. Don't discriminate, and take care of those who need help rather than make fun of them. Okay? Nicknames are mentioned here. Another very important thing. What's that? Wala yaghtab. It says don't use nicknames, but Rasulullah ﷺ used to give nicknames. So what's the difference? Yes, if somebody likes a name, then that's no longer, hurtful to him, and he likes that, then that's okay. It's only when somebody, doesn't like that name, you give him. He said, no, don't use that, I don't like it. Then you shouldn't. But Rasulullah ﷺ used to give nicknames to the disciples in a different way. For example, he saw Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira was actually Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhra or something like that. That was his full name is Abdul Rahman, and he was playing with kittens. Okay, and Rasulullah ﷺ began to call him Abu Huraira, the father of kittens. Okay, the one who likes kittens, really. The one who likes kittens. And he saw Ali radiallahu ta'ala one day lying on the floor covered with dust, and he called him Abu Turab, and he loved to be called Abu Turab. Okay, so those were, so the point is, if somebody doesn't like a particular thing, don't use that. What else does it say?
That's another aspect as well, names. Sometimes, in gangs, young people have names that describe bad things. They look up to those kind of names as well. Maybe that's included here as well. Ismul Fusuq, names that encourage them to show off about bad behavior and so on. And they are proud of those names. They don't take it offensive, but it encourages bad kind of behavior and so on as well.
Yes, and of course, in other words, names that are false in reality, they're not true. They're false names. I don't know. I don't know any of those kind of names, but you do see them sometimes, and they are actually. They sound scary and totally out of place. Yes, but they use them.
Yeah, it's just names given to them to act, so to speak, or
put fear in
portray. Yeah, portray.
Yes, they are strong.
An image. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what is the fifth? This one is. Who would like to read that? Simon, would you like to read that, Simon? The believers do not. Suspicions.
Suspicions undermine relationships. Believers do not be suspicious, since some suspicions are sins. Neither spy on one another nor backbite about each other. Would any one of you like to eat the meat of his dead brother? Never. You would hate him. So be mindful of Allah. Allah is indeed most forgiving, caring.
Okay. How many things are mentioned here that undermine relationships? Okay. Suspicion. Yeah.
Backbiting.
Okay. Three things. Yeah. So suspicion, spying, and And this is the dark underworld of the spies, eh? Is it? That's been
It's just every day that we do all the time.
very suspicious.
Be suspicious of the people who spy. Like we said.
And is this this culture of suspicion is I think fueled by the novels and the films we see, and of course it smacks of what? It's kind of not trusting people, isn't it? You don't trust
Not for trusting God as well. You think everybody else can harm you, but don't God can't protect you.
Yes. So it's and of course when you have suspicions, can you build relationships on that? Can you build relationships? Of course not. So it's a destroyer of relationships. Yeah? Zan, if you look at the footnote there, I've explained what zan is. This is to suspect and to assume about others. To assume about others. Assuming is you haven't got any proof or evidence. You're just making it up in your own mind. All right. To be inclined to accuse others. You're accusing. All right. And you doubt the innocence of others. Okay. So this is all wrong, isn't it, Jim?
Is this linked to the first, in the first where you said about the crooked person?
Yes.
Okay, well, inshallah, we will be able to, I'd like you to sort of, when you do your exercise after the break, how interrelated all these things are. And it just shows you the power of, how the Quran is trying to correct our attitudes and then to correct our behavior. Before you can actually correct the behavior, you need to do something up here. Okay, you can't do it to the behavior. It's got to happen here. And this is what the Lord is trying to do by the government legislating these anti-discriminatory laws. It's making your attitude right first. If you don't, you're going to have you're going to be, you'll have to pay a penalty. Okay, so. But I'd like to just think about zan first. This zan, okay? Because we talk about, the hadith talks about, husnul zan. Always have husnul zan, a good opinion of others. Always have? Yes. Good zan about others. Good opinion of others, rather than a bad opinion. That's that's how you start. But if there is evidence that, no, there is something wrong, then you begin to. But even there, what do you need to do? فَتَبَيَّنُوا. You need to do investigation and checking before you make the conclusions. What happens with us? We make the conclusion first, and then we think about whether we need to get any evidence or not. Okay? And that's the wrong way of doing it. But the first, and I say, what is fueling this is, of course, the sort of culture we've created through fiction, through the entertainment industry, that people cannot trust one another. And that's very sad, really. Humanity should be trusted. We should trust, and this is why the Quran there says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Believers are brothers and sisters to each other. Okay? You trust your brothers and sisters. You don't. I hope we don't suspect, our brothers and sisters, with bad plans. Not and if you do, you need to get yourself examined really, and then see what's going wrong. What's happening here? Okay, because it obviously has an impact on you. When you have a bad opinion of someone, what's happening now inside you? When you become suspicious.
You're in a negative frame of mind.
Yeah, you go into a negative frame of mind. Negative frame of mind does what? Dr. Fakar? Where is it? It's gone. Habib, what happened to it? When you have a negative frame of mind, what's happening to your blood pressure? And what's happening to your heart rate? What's happening to your atherosclerosis in your arteries? What's happening to your cortisol levels? This terrible hormone that increases your stress levels. What's happening to these? Well, it's obvious what's happening. It is rising, eh? And you're feeling that with your suspicions and pasina idea. You begin to wonder what's going wrong with me, eh? And these negative. Seriously, no, that's not a joke. I'm a biochemist and physiologist, and I know that this is what happens. When you begin to think negatively, all these things happen to your physiology. And now just remember, somebody's in this negative mind 24/7. What's happening to him? Eh?
It's not good for him.
What's going to happen to him in 5-6 years' time? He's going to have a heart attack. This is this what is known as personality A. This person is really asking for trouble, right? But it all begins from where? Zannusu, this negative thoughts coming from suspicions, right? So I hope you can see why, Allah is being, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann. Avoid having bad opinions over this. I've translated that, don't be suspicious, okay? Avoid suspicion. Avoid those negative suspicions. And then it goes on to about spying. Spying is what? Again, it's obviously when you spy because you're suspicious, right? But this is a behavior, isn't it? Now, spying is now behavior. You become what's that famous?
007.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah. Yeah, detective. Yes, okay, detective. Or Mrs. Marple, is it? Or
Yeah.
so. All right. Okay. Yeah, and that's so you begin to spy, and you begin to uncover all sorts of things. Right? Now, our people talk about black magic and jadoo kitab, and all this, and that also begins from here as well. Seriously, zan and spying, these are, so what happens is, you find a tissue paper with the red mark on it. Oh, this was under the sofa. How did it get here? Who's doing this now? And then you find another piece of paper with Allah written on it, or something weird written on it, or totally illegible. Oh my! Now this is, somebody's really doing a black magic now. Can you see? Seriously, that would lead to heart attack for some people. My God, I'm now, and this is, this is all suspicious, and this is where if you were an enlightened person, who could tackle this kind of nonsense, you could really find out what's happening. All right, that even somebody's just put it there. Why have they done it? And this is how actually black magic works. Magic, actually, the way magic works is, it's interesting. There's if you go to Wikipedia and look at magic, it will tell you 8 ways of doing magic. Okay? And then if you go to Imam Fakhruddin Razi's tafsir of the 13th century, he has the 8 ways of magic as well. This is really interesting. Fakhruddin Razi talked about the 8 ways of how people do magic. All right? And all of these are actually ways of deceiving somebody. They're all about deceiving. And who does it work on most? Suspicious people. People who are, always doubting and always in negative moods. It's actually impacting them most. And they're the most difficult people to heal as well, to be honest. When they come to you and they say, look, this is all up here in your mind. There's nothing real. Come on, get out of this, dark and gloomy world you're living in. Come out of it. It's so difficult because they are sunk in it. Really, and it's made worse by some evil people who want to exploit them for money reasons. Yes, sister. اسأل.
ولا تجسسوا الفرق بين التجسس وتتبع عورات الأخ الأخوة.
الفرق بين التجسس
وتتبع العورات هو نفس الشيء.
Okay, so what's the difference between tajassus and tatabbu ala?
العورات يعني الأخ يتتبع عورات أخيه.
But I'm not quite clear on what he's saying. So just explain what you mean by that. تطبع على الأورات.
هو لفظ باللغة العربية تتبع
Yeah.
العورات.
Well, that's, تطبع على الأورات would be looking at people's privacy, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's not looking exactly. It's just when
Following it,
Yeah.
following it, yeah.
try to cover.
Yes.
Yes. Ladies from this
The
place.
very social.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two? You
Yeah,
say?
the other thing, for example, إذا الزوجة أو الزوج يشوف زوجته بعدين يدور على شيء هذا كمان تجسس حرام.
Yes.
حرام.
That's right as well. I think this is more general.
Yeah.
This is the justice is more general, and what you're saying is a particular kind of the justice. That's a very specific kind of the justice, and that would also fall under this. Yes, I think it will come under that as well.
Trying to keep the private affairs and then following the justice tools.
Yeah.
What she's saying is trying into somebody's private affairs and find out rather than setting a private detective to go on.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't mean you hire a detective, you can do it yourself, or in different ways
Could be linked into the vulnerability bit prior to that, where someone's vulnerable, they're actually in a problem, and you invade their privacy and you make matters worse for them, or you advertise the vulnerability at that time.
Okay, let's just go back. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here saying you should not be suspicious. In other words, you should trust people, okay? And you should have, as the Prophet said, good opinion of people, all right? Until and unless you have proof for alternative belief. Okay, it doesn't say you should be just blind, and not know the reality. That's also foolishness, because the Prophet ﷺ said that a good believer, intelligent person, will not be bitten from the same burrow twice. Okay, he wouldn't be fooled twice. He wouldn't be cheated twice. If he is, then there's something wrong with him. He's been cheated. He should know. He should learn a lesson from that. So it's not about being completely oblivious to realities. But it's saying don't be negative. I think that's, in fact, in the whole of this surah, it's about getting over negativity, isn't it? And it's giving that very positive view of life and people as well. And people should be regarded as positive.
If you go to Pakistan, you got to be very careful.
Yeah.
Oh, Allah.
So many
Okay. Is that being suspicious about Pakistanis and Pakistan?
It's a disease in the society.
I was thinking the same thing. Where is this message being lost? It's so common in our community. Wherever we see.
Oh, I don't know. Pakistan has acquired an image. It's acquired an image.
That's not only what Pakistan, but our own community.
Yes, it's acquired an image. And that's very, very sad, to be honest. It's acquired an image that is so dangerous, negative. And this is why, people with that passport have to, queue up for hours, anywhere in the world. And so it's a very negative image, again, that's been created. I don't think it's true at all. I don't think it's
Within
true.
our society in Pakistan, we realize that deception is almost becoming norm at any level. It's within the community, within the government officials, deception is almost a norm within the society.
fake news.
Fake news.
From top to, from very top to very bottom,
Yes.
from very rich to very poor.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I don't want to go into that because we live here in the UK. Right?
Let's keep it in Castle.
Yes. Okay, let's go back here.
Come back to this discussion of this idea of the mindset that produces this kind of thinking. One of it is this victim mentality. You always think you're a victim. And I think that produces this, being negative and suspicious or thinking ill of people because you think you're the victim all the time. And one of the things I've noticed from your whole thing is about empowerment, taking responsibility, and it links with the magic as well. The reason why magic is so prevalent in our communities is because it's the easy way out. You don't blame yourselves, don't take responsibility, you just blame the magic. And I think it goes back to this idea of taking responsibility for your situation, for your relationship as well. Why is you're not getting on somebody else, and also not having this victim mentality to think that I'm always a victim, I'm always being discriminated against, rather than taking a positive thing.
Well, thank you. I think that's really very good, and that is the message the Quran is constantly giving us. From the beginning of this surah to here, I hope you can see it's telling you to take control of your own affairs. Okay, don't whinge, right? Don't complain. Be masters of your own destiny. That is a very empowering message, really, and that's what makes the Quran so special, to be honest. So look at these, look at it in that way, this passage here. We now move to the next one. Oh, and of course we forgot about backbiting. Backbiting is, the Quran compares it with eating the meat of a dead brother. I mean it's such a offensive, it's so evil, nobody can even think of such a thing. And this is how bad backbiting is. But what are we talking about when we say backbiting? What is backbiting?
Talking ill of other people behind back.
Not just it's not just actually behind their back, even on their face. If you say something which is not true about them on their face, that is actually backbiting as well. The whole point is it's hurting others. Okay? So we've got to be very careful. This is where we all fall into this trap of backbiting. So we really need to be very, very careful. Again, I think it comes from that negative way of looking at things. So, if you are looking at things in a negative way all the time, it's not surprising that people say negative things about the others. Yes? So this is where you need to be really positive to avoid backbiting. Right? Give me an example where, where you could certainly backbite as well.
Also, I think there's a lot more happening now than social media. All your WhatsApp and your Facebooks and your Instagram. I think there are a lot more different ways of doing that than just speech nowadays. You can hurt people through all of that. I think that's probably, we probably don't classify that as coming under this, but I think it does come under that as well. All the social media, where there's a lot of back what happens there.
So this is why I said it's not just behind their back, even on their Facebooks or on their Instagrams, you can actually do it. Alright? Say something that would be hurtful to somebody else. But that's the point, it's about hurting others. And it would be considered as bullying as well. Sure.
The point that you mentioned about a slight bit of backbiting would, for instance, someone ask for your opinion about a business proposition with someone, or a rishta proposition.
Well, that's a different thing.
Exactly.
That is different. There you are looking at somebody's informed, objective opinion about their capability of being partners, of being trusted, and there what you need to do is, you need to speak the truth there. You need to tell the truth, in the best way you can do it. Really. So that would be considered as backbiting.
But if you don't do it, then it could be backbiting. If you actually do the opposite.
Well, if you don't tell the truth, you're lying. And if it is not in them, that thing, you are accusing them, slandering them. Right? So it's either a false or it's a slander, and both are haram anyway. Okay, that's haram as well, slandering. So yeah, it's about being objective, isn't it? I think that's the mindset the Quran is trying to create. Of being objective and of not being victim mentality, but of being empowered. Somebody who knows and can protect themselves, strong enough to defend themselves, really. Yes. Can we move on to the next part, which is Ya Ayyuhan Nas. Now it's interesting. 5 Ya Ayyuhal Ladina Amanu. Believers. 5 times? Up to here?
Yeah.
And now 6 times what? Ya Ayyuhan Nas. Okay? What is this Ya Ayyuhan Nas? Ya Ayyuhan Nas, Inna khalaqnakum min zakarin wa unsa waj'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. People, we created you from a male and a female, then made you into different races and tribes, so you may know each other. Indeed, the most honorable in the sight of Allah is the most mindful of Allah, the knower, the aware. Okay? So, it's very interesting. So why change from Ya Ayyuhal Ladina Amanu to Ya Ayyuhan Nas now? What is the message that's being given here?
It's talking about people, so it's everyone. It's everyone. Because Allah has created everybody, not just the believers. Everyone.
Like Muslims honor Muslims, regardless of their religion. We shouldn't backbite, we shouldn't slander, we shouldn't lie, we shouldn't deceive. So now it's like to people, to everyone, to everything.
Any thoughts on that?
I've got just a facetious thought. It says the most noble is the one who's mindful of Allah. So that means atheists can never be noble. They can never be
Very valid.
That's the other way.
So the implication is that your nobility, karama, is being measured by your knowledge of God, how mindful you are. So does the opposite follow? That if you have no acceptance of God, you can never have nobility.
No, I think this verse is not. Look at what it says. Inna akramakum indallah. Akrama is in the superlative, okay, and the most honourable. The most honourable in the sight of Allah is the most honourable. That doesn't mean they're not honourable, all right? So it's in the superlative there. And furthermore, every human being carries human dignity. Ikramun nas there's human dignity. We are the ashraful makhluqat, and that includes all humanity. There's sanctity to human life and human beings as such. But here what it's saying is, I think it's telling that Allah gives greater honor and dignity and closeness and greater status to those who are more conscious of Him, more closer to Him, more aware of Him, and they are mindful of Him. So that is quite. But you are saying that what the Quran is saying is it's giving this message to all humanity, okay, irrespective of Muslims or non-Muslims. Everybody needs to follow these rules for a peaceful and good life, really. Okay? And perhaps it's also saying, and of course, all human beings, nobody would disagree with us, would they? With the things we've said already? No, they are very, we just talked about how this government is being very careful about discrimination and trying to follow this now. Catch up with what Allah is saying here. We mustn't be discriminatory at all, and we should be looking for justice and all those things that are mentioned here. Yes, okay. Anything else, anybody? Okay, let's move on to the last part of it before we finish and have our tea, whatever you like to. So this is قالت الأعراب آمنا, the true nature of faith. what is faith? What is belief? What is being faithful with? Who would like to read that? Anybody from the back row there? Alia? Could you read for us? The true nature of faith.
The true nature of faith. The Bedouins say, we believe. Tell them, you haven't believed yet. You should say, we have submitted. Faith hasn't fully entered their hearts. Had they obeyed Allah and His Messenger, none of their deeds would be lost. Indeed, Allah is forgiving, caring. Indeed, true believers are those who believed in Allah and His Messenger and have no doubts. They strive with their wealth and their lives in Allah's way. They are truthful. Are you trying to teach Allah about your religion? Allah knows what is in the heavens and the earth. Allah knows all things. They think they have done you a favor by embracing Islam. Say, by embracing Islam, you haven't done any favor. In fact, Allah has done you a favor. He has guided you to the faith, if you are true to faith. Indeed, Allah knows the secrets of heaven and the earth, and Allah sees all.
Do you remember how the surah opened? The surah began with a commentary on the behavior of the Banu Tamim, the tribe, the Bedouins who had come to Medina. And then what happened? It appeared to be digressing. So it first made a comment about them, then about the zakat collector, and then about the conflict between the Aus and Khazraj. It appeared to be digressing. Okay? And then it comes back to the Bani Tamim again. And see, this is the other thing they said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they, when they told him to come out, they said, we are Muslims now. We are believers. Therefore, give us money. Actually, they were asking for money. And give us money because we are believers. And they were actually saying to him, we've done a favor to you, we are Muslims. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala corrects their misunderstanding. You've done no favor to Allah. It's the other way around. Allah has done you a favor by opening your heart and mind to this reality and the truth. Okay? It's telling us, we'll look at that in a minute, the reality of faith. But I just want you to look at the surah as a whole and see how beautifully it is organized. Okay? And yet, the way it comments on the Banu Tamim, the way it presents that story and then ends with it. Can you see the ring? Can you see it going in a circle? Okay? So this is one of the theories to explain the non-linearity of Quranic surahs and the Quran's way, rather than just going like this as we do in science papers. In our science papers or in any writing, what we do is we always have a heading which is really encapsulates what the paper is about, what the topic is about, and then you have an introduction. Okay, this is what we are talking about. Then you begin to present your arguments, reasons, 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons why you have this position, right? Then you will do a discussion of it, further explaining why you believe in that, okay? And trying to reject any opposition to your view. And then you come to a conclusion. So that's how you taught, aren't you? To write in humanities and science. That is how we do it. The Quran actually doesn't do it in that way. This is called Aristotelian logic, and this is the linear way that in the West is very common now, everywhere now, all over the world. This is how we are taught to write. Small children are taught, when they start writing their little essays, this is how you do it. You've been told that by your teacher. English teacher said, if you don't have, this arguments there, you don't have introduction, you don't have conclusion, then that's incomplete. So, but the Quran is not like that, is it? And this is what really puzzled a lot of people who didn't don't understand this. Do you see how it's working? It started with the Banu Tamim, digressed, went to two other places. Alright? Then comes back now. And as though it's saying that, you know, the problem with the Banu Tamim was not just one little problem, there were other problems. This is the human condition. You know, Allah is telling us, it's not, you know, it's not good just talking about this one isolated incidents, okay? This is just one thing. There are many other things that determine your social relationships. You know, you were saying that we should be talking about the bigger picture. The Quran is talking about the bigger. It's not just saying, okay, we'll just we'll knock these Banu Tamim down, eh? It's not doing that, is it? Do you understand that? I hope you can see how rich, how really developed that is. And you know, some of the modern novels are beginning to have this kind of structure. And the more complicated it is, and the more weird it is, you know, the higher rankings they get, actually. But the Quran is already doing this. You know, and I can show you this everywhere. You know, this is called a ring structure. So a lot of people have done research on that, to show this ring structure of the Quran. But I read it in some of the old tafsirs. You know, I can show you, you know, I think I quoted it in one of my articles where most of them talk about, you know, this, that what the Quran begins with, it always ends with that as well. Okay? So there's a ring structure, they were aware of that. And so this is I'm giving you this as insight to whenever you read a surah, and I've just proven to you that it is very coherent, knit together. And in this surah, social ethics, social manners are being taught, right? But as I said, this is called akhlaq as well. What's the difference between akhlaq and adab? What's the difference between akhlaq and adab? Well, adab is very simply manners. It means way of doing some of the normative things in our lives, or habitual things, doing them in a particular way that is normative, normal, and accepted as a normative, all right? So doing things in a set way. So, for example, eating with the right hand, okay? Or, you know, saying Assalamu alaikum. Okay? These are manners of greeting, all right? And showing adab to the leader here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are normal, these are manners. But akhlaq is something very different, you know? Very different actually. Akhlaq is to do with values. It's to do with your mindset. It's actually and Imam Ghazali says, you know, it's the state of your heart and mind from which goodness oozes. Your mind and heart has been programmed to do good. That's it. You've been programmed. You know, it's a very complicated algorithms, to be honest. You can't even think of them. You know, they are, but only Allah can make those. I was talking to someone 2 weeks ago down in a conference. He's looking at, you know, he's looking at virtues and artificial intelligence, and he said, "Oh no, you can't talk about, you know, these values and Allah. We will never be able to do that. It's only when we perhaps begin to use, you know, human brain and have an interface of some kind of might, but it's a very complicated. But that's what it is in effect, to be honest. And these are very complicated algorithms: patience, forgiveness, care, honesty, courage, modesty. These are very things, you know, which we have to learn. And this is what this book is about, to be honest. The Quran is about that. It's about teaching and developing those algorithms and those patterns within us that actually make us people of akhlaq. Okay? So this is why this surah is called Surat al Hujarat. But as I said, akhlaq is a very high level. It's not, so don't confuse it with adab and manners. Manners is something very simple. We teach children manners. We also, of course, teach them akhlaq. But to understand what Imam Ghazali says, it's the state of heart and mind from which goodness oozes. I'm going to stop there. I think that's why Qasim is here to tell me to stop now. So I will stop. But after